Hello, I'm Richard Vobes. I'm out on another walk. Today I'm in Nepcote. Nepcote is a tiny little hamlet with some rather gorgeous houses and an interesting feature, which is what I'm going to take you up to see. Where is it? It's in West Sussex near Findon, which is another rural village on the South Downs, close to Worthing. Worthing, of course, is right on the coast, and we've gone north a little bit on the A24 and nipped into Nepcote. This is an old rural place. Now I just want to show you this. Ahead of me here is an old chapel, Nepcote Chapel. I'm pretty certain it's Nepcote as opposed to Cot, N-E-P-C-O-T-E. And as you can see there, made of flint, very large flint, and then finished with bricks. And this is the route up. We're going up. Of course, now these days, a very expensive place to live, a very idyllic place to live, particularly when the sun comes out as it has today, with some large, gorgeous houses from different time periods. But of course, like a lot of these places, especially in the South Downs, they are a lot older than one might think. And certainly here you escape the new builds. But I am taking you to see a historic feature that Nepcote is particularly famed for. And if I say Wattle House, that might give you a clue. There again, perhaps it won't. Some of the houses here, middle Nepcote set back, others like on this side of the road, as you can see here, nestling behind all this wonderful trees and shrubbery, Hill Barn Cottage. And you can see there you've got some slate roofs, you've got the flint, and if you notice all these buildings, the flint buildings are lined with bricks at the edges. This is a particularly attractive house here, and then next to it also one particularly attractive, but it has a tile roof and brick. And isn't it picturesque with all the ivy covering the buildings? And here, I don't know if that's been renovated. It's certainly got a new roof to it, but it certainly looks in keeping. But I'm not going that way. I'm going up through this gate here, because I'm going to the Wattle House. Nepcote is famed for its sheep fairs. There's an annual sheep fair here in September, I think the first or second week in September, and the green that I'm walking on now is, and over time, has been packed with sheep. Farms on the South Downs over the centuries are famed for their sheep, and I think the South Downs was a breed of sheep that was particularly prevalent here. You can see the expanse of this particular area, this whole field, and if you imagine that farmers, traders, buyers from all over Sussex and potentially the rest of the country and abroad would have been coming here to this tiny little rural hamlet in order to make their purchases of sheep. Sheep, of course, important in many ways, not only for the meat but also for the fleece. The fleeces made some of the world's greatest wool. The British fleece made some of the world's fantastic wool and was in huge demand. So before I take you to the Wattle House, I want to take you just down here to what's left of this little pond. This, of course, I imagine when the sheep were here would have been a great source of water. mostly we don't have streams running off the South Downs, but there are a few springs where the water comes up, and I believe this is one such place. And the water here in this tiny and rather depleted pond is one such that would have fed the sheep quite nicely. So I'm making my way back now to the Wattle house. A wattle house because it stored wattles. It was built towards the end of the 18th century, and it is a remarkably large building, but you needed a large building in order to store the amount of wattles that would have been here. You can see it's got a slate roof. It has chimneys because people actually lived in there as well. You can see the horseshoe shaped arches of the main doors, and then the windows, and everything edged in brick. And why brick, you might ask? Well, imagine trying to build anything with just flint and rubble. You needed the brick in order to give you the edges, otherwise the thing would have just fallen apart. I think I'm being attacked by some dogs here. It's going to take you around the back of the Wattle house, and you can, the Wattle house, I keep saying waffle, and you can see here that it's a lot rougher, more coarse work, but it has been napped. For years I've walked up here to the Downs and wondered what the devil it was, and it's only recently that I discovered that it was a wattle house, although of course the people of the sheep fair would have known this. In the upper portions, I don't know if you can see, let's see if we can guide you up a bit. In the upper portions there were families living in there, tenants, in order, I guess, to pay for the cost of the building, because in order to store those wattles and in order to build this building, it must have cost quite a fortune, quite an expensive thing, as you can imagine. And I read that at these sheep fairs across the land, mostly the wattles, which may have been made from hazel or chestnut, were stored mostly outside. So I think because this was quite a grand affair in its day, they went to the expense of building such a magnificent building. And now it's I think it's a grade 2 listed building, and it is preserved for people to come past and wonder about. They still hold a sheep fair here, although nothing like what it used to be. An interesting point that once people had bought their sheep, they would either buy the fleeces or they would be buying the actual animal, and you've got to cart these animals, or rather walk these animals, to where you want them. Well, when the railways came, that was a lot easier, because the Downs men, the shepherds, the farmers could walk their sheep across the Downs in that direction, I suppose about 5-6 miles, something like that, and you'd get down to Stenning, where there was the railway, and then you could get on, after the 1860s of course, you could get on the route down to the coast at Brighton, perhaps to Shoreham to ship them away, or up to London, where they could be sold or slaughtered. So a very important place, a bit depleted these days, but there you go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my little exploration of Nepcote, and that you will, oh yes, I can get through here, that you'll join me again on one of my other walks. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and make a comment in the comments box. Until the next time, goodbye. Let's squeeze through here and make my weary way back to Worthing. It's such a lovely day. I wish I'd brought some sandwiches.